Hi, different dear friends. Good morning and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Akshadari. I'm Devraj. I hope you guys are working and preparing to working towards to improve our communication in English and following the tips which I have given in the previous videos. So, and also which I have updated the videos so that made you very useful. I hope. So let's start the today newspaper. But before going to start the newspaper reading, I would request you guys to please subscribe the channel, like and comment, so you will get the update notifications if there is any important videos from Akshadari or from me. So if it is related to maybe in the upcoming days, I'm going to update the videos related to NGO, that is the Vishnu Foundation, and also related to the Akshadari and other NGO informations which are very useful for the very needy people like poor people, visually impaired and physically handicapped people, and orphans especially. So they are going to get a lot of opportunities in the upcoming days, especially that is in the field of education. So let's start the today newspaper reading. Uh, the Hindu. Yes, let's start the today newspaper reading. That is the Hindu, which is very important for the point of examination. I hope you guys are learning rate and earning rate. So let's see what's in the front page of the Hindu newspaper. So as he lists Rahul Gandhi's appeal for July 21, delay railed Vande Bharat deal is back on track. Trump under Justice Department spotlight. A push that disregards science, the law. The government is ignoring facts and logic. The opposition's team India to take on NDA in LS pool. Joint resolution says the new coalition will safeguard the idea of India. Promises caste census and 11-member panel will be set up at the next meeting in Mumbai to evolve consensus on key issues. Coalition of negativity never successful, says PM. Chirag Paswan announces his return to the NDA fold. Amendment to APMC Act stalled. BMTC to induct 921 e-buses. Former Kerala CM Uman Chandi dies in Bangalore. That's sad news. A student who was set on fire by a relative succumbs. TNA rejects President Ranil's offer for devolution. Exports dip in the pace of global uncertainty. No clear target for financial year 24. Chandrayaan 3 launch ISRO Department of Technology Lord ITI Limited. BMTC to induct 921 non-AC electric buses soon. Transport corporations to add 3,888 new buses to their fleet. According to BMTC officials, under the tender by Convergence Energy Services Limited, Tata Motors will supply, operate, and maintain the 12-meter electric buses for 12 years. Company likely to send its first prototype e-bus next week. Shoaib Latif assumes charge as a registrar of Bangalore City. Son bludgeons elderly faints to death. Civic body to regularize illegal OFC after leaving a heavy penalty. Doctor in the dock of for accepting bribe. Omega duped by cyber fraudsters. God arrested by peddling drugs. SC Collegium recommends the names of four advocates as SC judges. Software engineer found dead. A 30-year-old software engineer allegedly handed her life due to alleged harassment by her husband at her house in Jogupalya and Halasuru on July 17. The deceased Divya was found dead in her house. Friends of the deceased told the police that harassment led her to take the extreme step. According to the police, Divya was married to Arvind, also a techie 11 years ago. The couple have two children, only July and July 17 evening, Arvind called his in-laws to inform that Divya had locked the room from inside and was not responding. The in-laws rushed to the house and found Divya dead. Based on the complaint, police registered a case against Arvind. Battery stolen from traffic signal pole. What? Let's see what's about. A bold step towards women self-reliance. Conservationists express serious concerns over Forest Conservation Amendment Bill as the devastating impacts of climate change and environmental degradation become clearer. This is the time for the government to reaffirm its commitment to protecting the country's immense biodiversity, says a petition signed by the representatives of premier institutions. Japan's Marubeni Corporation plans investment of 10,800 crore in Kola. Stone Valley Resort built on encroached land in Sakleshpur seized. Water Adalat tomorrow. Kotira Jyoti, Amruta Jyoti beneficiaries to get 53 and 75 units of free power respectively. New study by ISC and collaborators says picolinix acid can block viruses causing SARS-CoV-2 and influenza A. The study describes the compound's remarkable ability to disrupt the entry of developed viruses into the host cell and prevent infection. Let's see what's opportunities are the all weather tourism mart planned at Mysuru Dasara exhibition grounds. Pratap Simha MP inspecting the Dasara exhibition grounds in Mysuru on Tuesday. Karnataka Exhibition Authority Chief Executive Officer Rajesh Gowda was with him. Amendment to APMC Act stalled in Council bill referred to House panel. 56 farmers organizations have petitioned the government to amend the act, says Minister. JDS Minister Maritibbe Gowda broke ranks with his party and supported the bill. BJP leaders takes exception to Speaker meeting Sonia. BJP urges state government to declare drought. Man-animal conflict. 325 kilometers of rail barricades in 3 years. Members press for declaring Tulu as second official language. Probe into misappropriation of COVID-19 funds soon. End of an era in Kerala politics as Congress veteran Oman Chandi dies. Doctors attribute the cause of death to complications arising from a prolonged fight with cancer. The veteran Congress leader's body will be interred with full state honors at St. George Orthodox Church Cemetery at Puthupalli tomorrow. SC asks CBI to produce charge sheet in a Axminster murder case. Passing up a genial leader leaves Congress bereft. As the post appeals against Pinarayi in SNC Lavalin case for hearing on September 12. The corruption case concerns loss of 86.25 crore in the Kerala State Electricity Board's contract with Lavalin. ED breaches 441.9 crore in fixed deposit held by Tamil Nadu Minister's son. BJP Janasena TDP need to join hands to defeat YSRCP Pawan. A fascinating fusion of rock art in AP's Rudragiri. Selective prosecution. Probe agencies should not allow politics to color their investigation. Let's read this editorial page. India, France, and what keeps their ties ticking. In 1998, India put France in what should have been a tough spot. Just a few months after French President Jacques Chirac had been the chief guest at the Republic Day parade in Delhi, and Prime Minister Heike Gujral signed India's first ever strategic partnership agreement with him. Newly elected Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee announced that nuclear test had been conducted in Pokhran 2nd in May. In the United Nations, UN Security Council, French diplomats joined the F5 countries in condemning the test, but did not join. Along with the United Kingdom and Russia, the United States led move to impose sanctions of India. Nor did France scrap the strategic partnership agreement. The philosophy behind the relationship throughout their relationship in New Delhi and Paris have built a tradition of joining each other's National Day parades. Chirac himself was a guest at India's Republic Day twice. His first appearance was in 1976. Valerie Giscard d'Estaing, 1980. Nicolas Sarkozy, 2008. And Francois Hollande, 2016 have been guests since. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh 2009 and now Prime Minister Narendra Modi were invited to the Bastille Day parade. While the purchase of defense equipment often overshadows the outcome of these new big visits, it is the underlying philosophy of the engagement that propels India and France ties forward. Both countries have held on the three pillars in the relationship: non-interference in each other's internal affairs, a steadfast belief in strategic autonomy as expressed by President Charles de Gaulle, and non-alignment as expressed by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, and a refusal to pull the other into its own coalition and alliances. The awkwardness in 1998 after all would have been nothing in comparison to Chirag's visit to India in 1976. Not 6 months before that, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had declared the emergency and suspended a freedom in a move that was criticized across the world. But Chirac, who was the Prime Minister of France, saw no reason to cancel his visit. In December 1975, France had hosted the Paris Conference on International Economic Cooperation that looked at the impact of the global energy crisis on developing countries in that rose from the US. Arab tensions over the Kippur War. India was one of a few invitees to the preparatory committee of the conference. When Chirag was in Delhi in January, he praised India's role in bringing disparate global positions together. Space, nuclear energy, and defense were even then the cornerstones of the relationship. In 2006, Chirag returned to Delhi to lay the stage for the civil nuclear deal when India won its waiver at the Nuclear Suppliers Group in 2008. It was France. It has done much of the heavy lifting for the waiver and not the US that India signed its first civil nuclear deal with. Writing about his decisions in his memoirs, Chiragu confessed a youthful love and a full passion for India and a teenage attempt at learning Sanskrit. Said that for him the strategic partnership was means of establishing the primary role that India by reason of its history. Democratic choices, attachment to secularism, coexistence of different peoples, languages, and cultures was called on to play in the aim of creating a more equally balanced world. Chirag, Jackie's My Life in Politics, page 212. Mr. Modi's visit to Paris last week saw many of the same shades of the partnership. India's Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra pointed out that despite the dramatic visuals of violent protest across France last month over the mainstream and mistreatment of immigrant communities, Mr. Modi had not hesitated even once in planning his visit. Neither did France bring up the European Parliament said the criticism of India over the violence in Manipur are allegations of human rights violations, intolerance towards minorities, and curbing civil society freedoms. These were referred to in the resolution adopted by member of the European Parliament at the plenary session in Strasbourg during July 10 to 13, and on the day Mr. Modi landed in France. The Ukraine war. On a major geopolitical stage, this combination of non interference and non alliance plays into France's approach towards the Narendra Modi's government position on the war in Ukraine. In March 2002, a month into this war, France co-authored a UN Security Council resolution with Mexico that sought to ensure uninterrupted humanitarian aid be allowed inside the conflict in June. Two rounds of negotiations followed, with hopes in particular of winning war countries such as India, given the humanitarian issue. The resolution was eventually brought to the UN General Assembly, which when that effort failed. But no word of disappointment was expressed by Paris when India abstained. Through the war, President Emmanuel Macron's own stance has been more complex than that of other Western countries, even risking ridicule over the 7 to 8 extended calls he made to Russian President Vladimir Putin and a visitor to Moscow in an attempt to talk Mr. Putin out of the war. More recently, Mr. Macron suggested he would travel to South Africa for the BRICS summit in August. If invited to make his case there, understanding and sharing some of the complexity which they weave the word. New Delhi did not have differences with France over Mr. Macron's visit to China in April this year, including his statement that Europe cannot be a vassal state to the US on its China policy. Strategic partnerships. In the strategic sphere, France announced publicly that it disapproves of a North Atlantic Treaty Organization plus partnership plans that would see the transatlantic alliance build direct ties with Japan, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, and even India. New Delhi already New Delhi already has rejected the plan. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has said that NATO is not a template that applies to India. As a result, despite a push from several countries, the NATO summit in Vilnius this month dropped a mention of the project. The India France roadmap on the Indo Pacific released the last week further clarifies that neither side is attempting to pull the other into its other regional military coalitions. France was cool to plans for Quad plus coalitions, first floated in 2020, which were more or less dropped after the US France rapped over the AUKUS agreement. The US, the UK, and Australia. France is also the only country the Indian Navy has conducted joint patrols with so far, and future plans could involve the use of French international territories in reunion. New Caledonia and French Polynesia and even India's Andaman Islands for port calls and reconnaissance by both navies on a bilateral basis. While India's ties with each of the P5 countries is unique, the future that sets apart the India France relationship is this. Geopolitics stands value judgment, and no pressure is to align their positions. A Pushpa GM mustard disregarding science, the law. A Pushpa GM mustard disregarding science, the law. A determined battle by environmentalists in the Supreme Court of India against Delhi University's genetically modified herbicide tolerant mustard is all that stands to between GM foods and Indian farmers and consumers. GM crops are quite different from conventional varieties and hybrids, such as those developed by farmers, agricultural research institutions, and companies. Biotechnologies and select genes at a random location in the DNA of a plant to develop GM crop. The insertions make the GM crop express traits that it ordinarily would not. For instance, GM mustard has been altered to withstand the broad spectrum plant killer beside glufosinate. This makes it easier to develop a hybrid mustard seeds for higher yields, and farmers growing a GM mustard can spray the herbicide to kill all the plants except the mustard. GM crops in India. The debate. India has seen a robust debate on GM crops in the last 2 decades. Environmentalists, scientists, politicians, farmers, consumers, and the higher judiciary have asked probing questions about the safety, efficacy, and even the very necessity of GM food. Many have been alarmed by the experience with BT cotton, the first and only GM crop approved in the country. Long term research suggests that BT cotton has proved provided only fleeting benefits to farmers while enormously increasing their cost of cultivation and risk. On the other hand, some seed companies have profited handsomely from the expensive GM seeds. In the wake up of the fierce debate, two standing committees on the parliament independently and comprehensively examined GM crops and food. The Supreme Court also appointed a technical expert committee in the public interest litigation filed separately by the non government organization Gene Campaign and the environmentalist Aruna Rodriguez. Thus, there are two reports concerning GM food from the highest legislative body in the country, one by the Standing Committee on Agriculture in 2012 during Manmohan Singh's government, and another by the Standing Committee on Science and Technology, Environment and Forest in 2017 during Narendra Modi's government. Both committees included members of parliament from the ruling and opposition parties. Convergence in risk assessment. Working across an interval of 5 years, the two committees unanimously highlighted major weaknesses in the regulatory system and called for utmost caution before releasing GM food. The Committee on Science and Technology, Environment and Forest made a specific reference to GM mustard and asked the government to conduct a thorough, independent, and transparent assessment of long term biosafety, environmental risk, and socio-economic impacts. Five of the six tech members also pointed to grave deficiencies in the safety assessment of GM crops in their report that was released in 2013. They found HT crops completely unsuitable in the Indian context and warned of serious harm to the environment, rural livelihoods, and sustainable agriculture if they were released. This is a case of a decisive convergence among noted scientists and other people selected representatives. This is as compelling a case as can be against releasing any HT crop and for comprehensively strengthening regulation before allowing GM food. Such convergence refutes the prejudice that critics of GM crops are against development. Given the overwhelming political and technical consensus, the government needs to approach the issue of HT crops transparently and robustly. Whether emphasize on precaution. Instead, the government is pushing ahead with the GM mustard with reckless disregard for both science and the law. For instance, it has not placed the full biosafety dossier of GM mustard in the public domain. Despite the provisions of the Right to Information Act and a declaration to this effect by the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee of the Environment Ministry, nor is it adequately responding to criticism from agricultural scientists that already available non-GM mustard hybrid have better yields than GM mustard, misleading the court. In recent hearings in the Supreme Court, to get around the growing evidence of long-term ecological and health risks of HT crops, the government has argued that GM mustard should not be considered HT at all, since the objective for developing it was to improve yields. In fact, a crop that can withstand herbicides is an HT crop. As far as the science of biotechnology and ecology go, there is no doubt that the GM mustard is an HT crop. The government's argument is nothing but a red herring designed perhaps to confuse the Supreme Court. It would be shocking if scientists involved with the developing GM mustard were to go along with misleading the court and the public. The apparent disregard with which the government is steamrolling science-based concerns and opposition to GM studies horrifying. Instead of seriously engaging with constitutional issues involving public health, environmental protection, and agricultural livelihoods, the government is making a mockery of facts and logic before the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court allows GM mustard to go through, it will likely pave the way for the release of other GST crops such as cotton, rice, and maize. The future of farming and India's food culture and heritage hangs in the balance. This is about the GM mustard crops. And anachronism, the Commonwealth Games will struggle to be financially viable. Authorities who misconstrue authority. Building anti-Hindu narratives again, the BJP is employing an old strategy to attack the Congress in Karnataka. 1 month, 40 deaths. West Bengal most affected by political violence. Political violence peaked around the Lok Sabha elections in 2019 and fatalities peaked around the 2018 Panchayat polls in the state. Chirag says his concerns met bags with Ajipur seat. LJP is returning to NDA to contest not only the Lok Sabha election in 2024 but also the assembly force is been Bihar scheduled for 2025. Says seat sharing formula not disclosed. Team India to take on NDA in Lok Sabha poll. Kanpur Mayor kicks off a row over remark on house sales. Coalitions of negativity never successful. Modi stays ED probe in Lakka scam case. Adda was posited in police challenging the legality of the proceedings initiated by ED against Chhattisgarh officials. 29 arrested for protesting in the nude in Chhattisgarh. Mob attacks IPS officer in Manipur, 30 probe Han. Probe into Bilaspur goods train coalition finds pilot's positive signal in danger. News outlets benefit from our deals with tech majors. Four militants sent to destabilize the region, killed in Poonch raid. Opposition parties vote to conduct caste census and combat hatred. In a joint resolution, parties pledge to safeguard the idea of India enshrined in the constitution and present the nation with an alternative political, societal, social and economic agenda. They promise to transform both the substance and style of governance. India, an anonymous choice of name to counter the BJP. Modi slams opposition bid to unify against BJP. Fight to retain the voice of nation. Rahul. Snag it plight of Rahul and Sonia lands in Bhopal. Government opens portal to refund small investors of Sahara. 1.7 crore investors will benefit in the first phase and climbs up to 10,000 will be settled first. On March 29, Supreme Court ordered a refund to 10 crore investors of four cooperative societies. Chandrayaan completes third orbit, rising uneven ISRO. Mumbai police get a threat call on 27/11 like attack, file FIR. And the reports a record 93% DPT-3 immunization coverage in 2022. WHO. EC to issue e-vouchers for canvassing on Akashvani DD. Derailed India-Russia Vande Bharat deal is back on track. RBNI has a minority stake of 25% while Metro Wagon Mash retains the majority stake of 70%. Proper orientation. China's defense minister Kissinger holds talk on China-US relations. DR Congo state company signs 1.9 billion mining deal with UAE. Pakistan gets another 600 million loan from China, says PM Shahbaz. Israeli throng train stations block roads to protest judicial reforms. Trump said to be indicted for bid to overturn poll results. Former US President says he received letters stating he is a target of Justice Department's probe. He is also being separately investigated by George for trying to reverse election law in state. Silence fuels speculation on China Foreign Minister Qin Gang's absence. UK's illegal migration bill on its way to becoming law. US soldier who crossed the border held by North Korea. Russia targets Ukraine's port of Odessa, calls it a payback for strike on bids to Crimea. Monsoon uneven March could fuel food inflation, caution economists. The southern peninsula, Deccan Plateau, and eastern region continue to have below normal rains. Kharif sowing remains lower than last year for crops like rice and pulses, spurring increases in their prices, according to economic researchers. NMDC raises lump ore fines prices by 1,050, 658 ton. Hindenburg tried to tarnish the group's image. Adani. Industry Bank net raises 30% on higher NII in part to drive financial year 24 cement output growth to 6 to 8%. Raja. Vistara to Hardmoor flights from Mumbai had a merger. Jewelry gem exports may fall 10 to 15% in financial year 24. The Great Indian Documentary. AI says 40% of seats are repaid, over 90% in flight screens fixed since Tata takeover. Ashwin, an expert at playing with the batter's mind, says Kumble. Cummins is an old-fashioned test captain, says Ponting. Nat Saiva Brunt century propels ex-England to 285 in third Ashes ODI. Vinjay God pulls away from Pogacar, extends overall lead. Can Anderson spur in England on in his old Trafford home turf? Indian batters need to fill up their socks. Satyan leads the way as Dabang proves too hard for smashes. Satvik sets record for fastest badminton heat. Aditi logs fifth top 10 finish of the season on the LPGA. It was a superb effort from the Indian who had 13 birdies and an eagle and just one bogey and one double the entire week, indicating a lot of consistency. Lane triumphs. Short up Dennis skied gold for Raija. Messi trains watches by over 200 media representatives. Smithy moves up to 6th. Harmanpreet drops to 8th. Victoria pulls out as 2026 Commonwealth Games host. Germany proves too good for Indian women. Bajrang and Vinesh packed for Asian Games. Picked for Asian Games. Brinkmanship again, but India hold all the cards at a 350 over World Cup. BFC pens 1 year deal with the English striker Curtis Main. Roy Krishna signs 1 year contract with Odisha FC. Sindhu's ranking slams to race 17, lowest in over a decade. What went wrong for Djokovic in the final against Alcaraz? Too many elements combined to throw the 23-time major winner off track like the strong wind, the famed backhand deserting him at a crucial juncture, the slew of unposed errors, and the Spaniard rising to the big occasion with his own superior play. Sports nutrition, a healthy insight from Sayali. The tie break in the second set, the backhands kind of let me down. At set point, I missed the backhand, a little bit of a bad bounce, but I should not have missed the shot. For scientists, academic publishing has become a double-edged sword. Open access journals charge authors, APCs, diverting funds from research. India's one nation one subscription plan could also increase the monopoly of commercial publishers. India could set up an open publishing repository, inviting global participation and paving the way away from numerical metrics of such accomplishment. In 4 decades, about 280 languages have disappeared. The deterioration of languages is a process which began with the print and industrial capitalism, says historian G.N. Devi. Sanchaya turns the defined verbs to remain hang forever. How nearly 1,500 languages disappeared from census data in 10 years. Multilingualism and language diversity started seeding from the government records in 1970s. In the 1970s, this is a literary scholar and historian G.N. Devi. Bengaluru pub owners brace for impact as alcohol prices rise. With a 20% hike in Indian made liquor, increased beer prices, and rising inflationary pressures, concerns are mounting about the sustainability of pub businesses. Diversity, the lead motif of T.M. Krishna's concert. Persian food and fun drinks at the social latest outpost. Text and context. The last page, lives lost to road accidents in India every year, 1.5 million. The amount saved by Sri Lanka through import restrictions. The amount saved by Sri Lanka through import restrictions. The additional loan that Pakistan has received from China, 600 million. Increase in deposit due to the withdrawal of 2000 notes. The value of the global energy transition market by 2030. The India UAE deal to trade with rupees. What are the two MOUs signed by the Reserve Bank of India and the Central Bank of UAE? How will trading in local currencies help? What are the benefits of linking UPI and its UAE counterparts instant payment platform? Will it make a permit a remittance flow easier? Tracking the new railway proposal for Kerala. How different is the new project from the earlier high-speed rail corridor and the Salva in e-project? Why did the latter face huge resistance from environmental activists? Renaming Satara's unwanted girls. How Sansa still preferred over daughters. In many regions in India, demeaning and derogatory names are given to girls. In the Satara district of Maharashtra, girl children, especially from poor economic backgrounds, are given the name Nakausa, which translates to unwanted. Nakusa, Nakausa, which means translation translates to unwanted. This is about the today newspaper reading, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the newspaper reading and at least read the newspaper. I mean, maximum 2 hours a day. It will make you very good in fluency in the next 30 days. If you are beginner, so if you are not beginner, it will. If you are already learning, if you are already, it will make you advanced in English language. So please subscribe the channel, like and comment for more videos related to education, healthcare and personal use, especially in the field of education. So see you in the upcoming videos, guys. Have a great day. Bye bye. Take care.